Aloha, beautiful souls, and welcome to today's reading on Transform with Rian, where we find out what is said about you behind your back. Now, before you get into like any negative frame of mind, we're also, not just focusing on things that may be uncomfortable to hear about what's being said about you, but also the good things that maybe you don't hear enough or maybe you haven't heard at all. So, let's take a deep breath in together to get aligned with the energies of this reading and to ground ourselves to receive these messages. Deep breath in and hold that breath in for 3, 2, 1, and exhale. And keep taking deep breaths in and out as I read to you our collective message for today. Trust intuition. You are receiving the right messages. Ask the divine to clear your ego. Have confidence. Trust your gut feelings. Affirmations will help you connect with the divine. What a beautiful message. Letting us know and reminding us actually that as we receive the messages of what's being said about you behind your back today, to let go of ego. Don't fall into the trap of getting like defensive or all riled up or upset. Just receive this information for what it is. Information, okay? Truth is like a matter of perspective, in all honesty. And so some of these things are going to be uncomfortable, but again, the intention that I always set for these readings is to serve your highest and greatest good with harm to none. All right? So we'll keep this up here to bring that message in, and we are going to start with group number 1. So welcome group number 1 to your reading to find out what is being said about you behind your back. So we're going to start with some good messages here, and then this will be a message or what's being said about you behind your back actually that might feel a bit uncomfortable for you to hear. Now, again, uncomfortable is not the same thing as bad, right? So I shuffled previously and distribute the cards as usual, and starting off with some of the more positive or higher vibrational things that are being said about you are represented here with the Winter Soldier, forever by your side. So I'm getting the sense here that a lot of people find you to be very loyal, a very loyal friend, a very loyal partner, family member, and they can count on you to stick by their side. So let's see what else we got here for you. We have the Snake, healing. You are a healer. Wow, beautiful. Okay, what else do we have here? We have Full Moon, completion, and Lotus Flower, unfoldment. That's an interesting word, unfoldment. I don't believe I've ever heard that word before, except in this deck. 6 of Swords, 4 of Pentacles, 8 of Wands, and 6 of Wands. Wow. Okay, so what I'm seeing here with your messages that are being shared with you today about what's being said behind your back is that you actually bring a lot of good energy into the lives of other people, all right? So they feel that you're very loyal to them and you always have their back. But I also feel like that feeling is reciprocated to you, that people also want to have your back. Like they would never betray you, at least, not intentionally. They would never try to purposely hurt you or get back at you. Like they are really true to you because they feel that you're true to them, all right? And I'm also seeing here that there's a lot of intelligence and wisdom about you, and that's part of what they really enjoy about your energy, okay? Whether, again, they say it or not, they think you're very intelligent. What I'm seeing here with this completion, with the full moon, so interesting that I read that because we're still in or that you pulled this card because we're still in the first full moon energy of 2023, full moon in Cancer, at the time I'm recording this video for you all. So back to this word completion, I'm sensing here that a lot of people feel that you've experienced quite a bit of things in life. For some of you, it could be that you've traveled quite a bit. Or perhaps you've had several different careers or jobs, and so you have this very wide knowledge base and experience. And it sounds like you've been through or experienced again different walks of life. And so that's where this wisdom is pooling from. And that's this level of completion that people see in you, that it seems like you're wise beyond your years in a way. Like you understand things at a different level than maybe some of your peers do, as far as age group goes, you know? And for those of the people that have been around you for quite some time with this unfoldment, like as you go through all these experiences, people really see you evolving and growing. It's like, you know, one of my friends always calls me like a little Pokemon because I always go on these trips, whether it be for a retreat or just traveling for pleasure to another country, or to, you know, just experience another way of life. I always come back and he always says like, oh, you're like a different person. It's like you're evolving again, like you're turning from a Charmander to a Charizard and like all those kinds of things. And it's like so funny. So the other people in your life that have known you for a while, they see the same thing. They see that, you know, with everything that you've gone through in life, like the ups and downs, right? The challenges, the successes, the travels, that you're evolving and growing, and a new layer of you is unfolding. You know, the lotus flower, they say, has like so many different petals, so it's like multi-layered. And that's how people see you. They see you kind of like an onion, right? You peel back and there's all these different layers within that reveal new sides of you. And they're all, you know, to be honest, they're really quite fascinated with it. What I'm seeing with this Four of Pentacles, it's kind of like you are almost like this TV show for them, right? Like I see this person like kind of chilling by this waterfall, looking out in the world, observing things. And that's how people feel around you. Like they like watching you, like observing you, and like, what are you gonna do next? Because it's so interesting, it's so intriguing. And you know what I'm also hearing is that you do a lot of the things that other people wish that they could do, but they don't do it because maybe they don't have the money, they don't have the time, they don't have the guts or the bravery to do it, like whatever excuse that they're making for themselves. It's almost like you don't really make those excuses and you just go do what you feel called to do, whatever that is. And that's truly admired by the people around you. And they see you as someone very successful. What I'm hearing is that it's not that traditional definition of success where it's like, oh, I have made this much money in my life, or I've received this many awards and recognition, or like I got the highest score on this competition, like whatever traditional definitions of success are, or I got this degree or certificate. It's not so much about that. They just see you as someone who knows how to navigate life, who can move through life, especially the ups and downs, that kind of roller coaster energy, that you can move through that with some level of grace that not many people can. And it's not saying that you don't stumble or trip up sometimes, but it's like you don't really let it hold you down. You don't fall into despair or depression. Like to them, you always seem to be able to pick yourself up and keep moving forward. And it's like you can kind of take whatever life throws at you, okay, and still come out on top to some degree in some way. And maybe it's not, again, that traditional definition of success or victory or achievement, but in their eyes, like it's working and it's working so well. With the Six of Swords, I also see that people really feel that you are very open-minded, that you, again, know a lot, and that that I'm hearing too that you kind of pick up on things quickly, and and that comes from a lot of your experience, okay? I'm not really getting the strongest sense of like book smarts coming from you. Not saying that you can't be, but since this is a general reading, I'm seeing that most of you that were drawn to this card, you're not that like academic scholarly type where you got straight A's in school. That's not the majority of you. Most of you is just, again, your wisdom comes from experience. So it's like big emphasis on the street smarts kinds of thing, okay? And so you're like the way you problem solve, when you even offer your opinions on something, like during a discussion about like, what do you think about, cryptocurrency, or what do you think about the economy right now, or what do you think about what's going on with you know Ukraine, or whatever the case may be, right? Like you really have something eye-opening to bring to the table. And what's so beautiful about all of these things is that the people around you, they have this. No, it's not even that. It's not even that. They don't even know it. But you are healing them by your mere presence. Now, why is that? Well, one aspect of that is like when I'm seeing this snake, it's like the snake sheds its skin, right? Regularly to reveal like new, brighter, healthier skin underneath. And it's like, when the snake has kind of maybe outgrown its current skin and it's like getting bigger, you know what I'm saying? And that's you. Like, even though you may not be aging, like getting bigger, like from a little kid to like a teenager to an adult, like you're not growing in that way. You're growing on the soul level. And that's very healing for people to be around, because let me explain it to you like this. I don't know if you ever heard this before, but like when your vibration is up here and other people are like somewhere below you, the higher energy tends to lead the way, tends to have a little bit more influence or control in a situation. And so you being up here automatically like magnetizes, because your energy is stronger, because it's a higher vibrational, automatically brings people closer to your elevation. They might not get to like equal, but you bring them up just by being around them. So it's all energetics, and many people are not even aware of it, right? They're not consciously aware of it. Maybe if they are, it's sort of just like, oh, I just feel good around you. I feel good around you. I feel comfortable around you. Like maybe it's just that type of thing to them. But know that you are kind of, in a way, anchoring this light energy, which is building around the world amongst very, very special souls who are growing and evolving pretty rapidly too around this time right now in the past couple of years, and a little bit more into the future here, that you're raising the vibration of people around, and the highest vibrational energy always tends to win out, and so you're healing people. You're healing the way they think. Like maybe with some of the experiences you share, you open up their eyes to more compassion, to more empathy. And again, Rome wasn't built in a day, they say, and so it's just little by little you really change and shift people for the better, okay? So that's that healing energy that is being highlighted here with the snake card. Now, let's kind of move over here and shift gears to like, what are people saying behind your back that might be hard for you to understand at first or difficult to hear, okay? So we have Mystique. What you see is never what you get. So what I'm seeing here is, even though people are loyal to you and they adore you, there's something about you that's very mysterious, and they're kind of on their guard around you, okay? It's like they trust you to do the right thing, but they just don't know what it is you're going to do, okay? What I'm hearing here is like you can be a bit of a wild card. I'm also sensing that maybe, as you kind of share your experiences, share your thought patterns, there could be some aspects of you that can even become a bit like self-righteous, where it's almost like you can occasionally like lean into this trap. Like, I have more experience, I have more knowledge than you, so I'm right. You know what I'm saying? Even though for all your open mindedness, for all your compassion, there can be these points in the conversation where you definitely give off this vibe of like, I'm right, you're wrong. And some people, that can backfire in some ways, as you're trying to help people grow and evolve and see beyond their limitations. There definitely is something like crossing the line. You know what I'm saying? Where like maybe you push too hard, or you can come off like you're preaching to them, right? Or you're giving them some kind of lecture. And that doesn't always feel good. There's like a time and a place, I feel, for these types of things. And so sometimes people don't really appreciate that, where it's like, sometimes people just want to be heard. Sometimes people just want to have a conversation. Sometimes they want to just have fun. Like, not every moment of every day is like fighting a cause for them, or that there's this battle that needs to be won when it comes to morality and justice or whatever. Sometimes people, like the average person, they just want to exist. Like, they don't want to try to solve the world's problems. They don't want to be, shamed for something that they already feel ashamed about, right? And so, sometimes when certain conversation topics come up, they do get a little bit on guard, okay? Because they're like, oh, maybe they think there's certain things that you're a little bit sensitive about, and they don't want to bring it up around you because they don't want to get a lecture, they don't want to be like yelled at, they don't want to upset the peace, that kind of thing, all right? And you probably have an idea of what that is, but perhaps we can get some insight here with these tea leaf cards. So we have fly, a period of ill health or depression. Chair, filled, someone new is entering your life. Shield, you need to defend yourself. Axe, forces working against you. Older woman, dealings or relationship with an older woman. Okay, interesting. So what I'm getting here is, as you've traveled around, as you've gone through these experiences in life, I get the sense here that you've met a lot of different people. And some of the people around you, like, you get along with all these different groups of people or people from different walks of life. But the thing is, they don't necessarily get along with each other, right? Like, just to kind of speak into a little bit of stereotypes to illustrate this point, is like maybe you fit in with the theater geeks and the jocks and also the nerds, right? Like, you have friends in these different circles. But it's like the jocks and the nerds, maybe they don't see eye to eye and maybe they won't be friends. Or the geeks and the nerds, they might not vibe together. Do you know what I'm saying? And so what I'm seeing here is that sometimes, when you're in one circle of friends and you're hanging out, having a good time, and then you go to another circle of friends, it's like you take that energy with you to this other circle of friends, and sometimes they just aren't feeling it. It's like let's just keep it very, very basic, very simple, and then I'm sure you can maybe from there understand your specific situation. So it's like, the geeks are talking about these video games or these devices and contraptions that are like really cool to them, right? And then you go to the jocks and they're talking about like sports, and then you're trying to talk to them about these like inventions, these video games, and they're like, what are you talking about, man? Like, we're here talking about sports, like WTF, right? And so it's like, because you're this beautiful multi-layered onion and composite of all your experiences and all the people that hang around you, that doesn't mean that when you hang out with these different people or these different groups that they can easily like flow with your energies, especially if it's not very similar to them at that moment. Do you get what I'm saying? So they just might not understand, like certain groups of friends might not understand things that another group of friends might understand better. Does that make sense? And so sometimes your friends, that's part of why they have a hard time. Like, okay, for example, for me, like I have friends from my younger days that I still talk with, that I still hang out with, who are kind of like my party friends, right? Like we kind of grew into adulthood by going out to the clubs together, partying, having a lot of fun, drinking, that kind of thing. And then I have my friends who I've had this very deep spiritual transformative journey with, and we talk about, third eye opening, meditation, energies, frequencies, chakras, right? Like sometimes when I go hang out with my party friends, like that's not their vibe. Like when I want to talk about the chakras and like energy healing, like it like kind of goes over their head, or that kind of bores them or whatever. Like they just don't get it. And so they're expecting me to maybe be this like party person when I'm around them, or this certain character. And then when I throw something else at them, like a wild card, it really throws them off. Okay, does that make sense? So that's what I'm seeing here, okay? And then when you bring an idea to a group of friends and they just don't get it, you kind of get on the defensive, because it almost feels like your viewpoint or your experience isn't getting validated. But it's not that, it's just that they don't understand it. And so that's what they talk about sometimes behind your back, is like, did you hear what so-and-so said there? Like, I was not following that. Like, why did they even bring that up? It's so weird, right? Like maybe they might say things like that, or I wish they wouldn't talk about that. Like they have other friends that they could talk about that with. Like, I don't want to hear about that. Like, I don't get it. Like, it's not one of my priorities. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what I'm seeing here. Now, one thing that's a bit interesting is this period of ill health, depression. So what I'm seeing here with this is that, everyone goes through their challenges in life, right? And you've gone through your challenges as well, just like your friends, and you've coped with your challenges in a different way. You've coped with these times of illness or sadness in a different way. It's kind of like how all of us dealt with the global situation, with the pandemic and with the economy, in our own ways, because we all have different lives. You know what I'm saying? Our lives are very unique, very different. And so the external events of the world affect us differently, and we can definitely get down or sad about it. And the way you've coped with it is a little bit different than the way other people have coped with it, okay? So maybe you've gone within on this journey of spiritual growth and development, when they haven't, right? They were a little bit more with trying to survive rather than go within and evolve, okay? And so that's part of what they're maybe not able to relate to you as easily. So very interesting reading today. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you did, of course, comment down below that you claimed this reading, or that you're grateful for this insight, to anchor those messages in. And on this channel, I do a lot of readings to bring that insight not only to your present, but also what's possible for you in the future. And if that is of interest to you, then I encourage you to tap that subscribe button, okay, to make sure you don't miss out on future uploads. And before you go, regardless of anything, just remember it's never too late for your happily ever after. Your story isn't completely written, and there are still so many things that you can explore and experience that will bring you lots of joy in life. Sending you so much love. Take care. See you next time. Hey there, Group 2. Welcome to your reading to find out more about what's said about you behind your back. So we're going to start off this reading with some of the more easier to receive, easier to digest kind of messages that people are saying about you behind your back. And then we'll also explore something that might be a little bit difficult for you to hear, or maybe you might get defensive about it. But I feel like it's important that we balance out the information we're receiving today. All right. So firstly, you have the runaways. What are we left with? I'm getting the sense here that people really see you as someone who's always on the move. It's like a mover and a shaker and a doer. And this will reveal in a moment about maybe something that's a little bit more challenging to hear or accept. But what else do we have here? We have eagle, spirit, trust in your higher self. So I am definitely sensing that you are one of the people that kind of goes with the flow and goes where life takes you. And like you maybe see things as quite, as more like an adventure, okay, than a struggle in life. And what else do we have here? We have wolf with instinct, music, harmony. So what I'm getting here is that you're definitely the type of person that really trusts their gut. And people respect you for that. People, I'm hearing that they they like that you don't get too much in your head, that you don't overthink things to the point of like worrying too much or having anxiety or overthink things to the point where you don't even take any action, you know? And then we also have the world and seven of wands. So I definitely see also with this combination, and we'll get into more details here once we see all the cards, that you don't mind being the odd one out, okay? Like with the runaways here, they, you know, decided to leave their parents when they found out that their parents were doing like shady things, and then fight against their parents. So what I'm seeing here is that it's like you're not afraid of the world and you're not afraid of going against the grain here, where being a bit of a rebel, okay, and not necessarily falling into line or doing what's expected of you. Like that's really not who you are, and that's something that people really enjoy about it. And even though you may not be in harmony with like society and cultural expectations, you are truly in harmony with the flow of life, with spirit, with Mama Gaia. And we also have Two of Swords and the Queen of Swords. So people really appreciate your honesty here, okay? And your bravery and your courage to say or do the right thing, no matter what. And, you know, the term the right thing, I use it kind of very loosely. It's making me think of the song, is it called The Next Right Thing from Frozen 2 that Anna? Anna sings. Or is it Anya? No, it's Anna. um, you know, where she's trying to figure out what's the next right thing to do, because there's a lot of different options, there's a lot of different choices. And, you know, there is no clear cut answer that's right or wrong. And so I feel like with you, you definitely always go for doing what's the right thing, what feels right for you, versus like what makes sense as the next right thing to do, okay? People definitely see you too as a bit blunt when you speak. You're not, what I'm getting here is you're definitely not that person to like beat around the bush, you know? You're not necessarily that person either. I'm seeing and I'm like kind of feeling into it is like you're not that person that spends too much time trying to win people over or wear them out. If you've had a conversation about something before and you've said your piece and it hasn't changed, like maybe you'll hear someone else's side for a few moments, but if they're like spitting out the same thing over and over again, you're just like, whatever, I'm over it, I'm out of here, bye, right? Like there's a little less tolerance within you for that type of thing, for like repeating stories. And I get the sense too that you're kind of like that friend that really tells it like it is, you know? And you're not afraid to be like, well, we talked about this before and you did the same thing. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, clearly you're not ready to change, or clearly there's some part of you that enjoys this. So that's why you keep doing it. And there's nothing else to talk about at this point, you know? And so people really appreciate your honesty, even when it comes off a bit brutal, right? Like they respect your brutal honesty because the thing is, like, you're very much in line with spirit. Okay, I see that so clearly here. And that's why I think people are very much okay with you dishing out the truth, because they know you're not being spiteful. They know you're not being like mean-spirited or rude or uncompassionate. Like, despite whatever the words are that are coming out of your mouth, which may seem harsh, they actually believe that you're not a bad person, and that you remind me of those characters in stories that maybe some people really don't like because they come off as really rude and like they don't pick up on social cues, where it's like, oh, don't say that, that's so impolite, right? That character that's not so worried about politeness, but more worried about like getting things done and doing what's right. We even have those people in politics, right? There's the people that are like pot stirrers or troublemakers who call other people out on their crap. And, even though they're right, sometimes they do make enemies or haters along the way. And so I wouldn't be surprised if you do have your fair share of haters or people that don't enjoy your company. And it's just because they don't understand you. And also, the big part of it is those people that don't really get you. It's because you're reflecting back at them things about themselves that they're not ready to face yet, or things that make them very uncomfortable. Okay? And I don't know why I said that, because I feel like you already know that, just the energy that I'm getting from you here through other people is like, you already know that. You already know that you're a good person, and you already know that you're not to everyone's palate, right? You're not to everyone's tastes. That you have a very specific audience who love and adore you and really respect you and appreciate you. And then you have people, that just don't get it. And they may not get it anytime soon, but it's not your responsibility. Like, you don't really care. You're like, I'm not responsible to change everybody's mind. I'm not responsible for everybody's opinion of me. There's this phrase that I really like, and I feel like you embody this. Like, people's opinions of me is none of my business. I'm going to say that again. People's opinion of me is none of my business. And I feel like you really embody that. Now, I feel like this harmony card really wants to like come through and say something more. And interestingly, I'm getting called to shuffle and pull some cards out from here to understand this more about your wonderful sort of confidence and self-esteem and belief in yourself, and kind of like understanding of your place in the world and your role. And maybe that's part of what this harmony is that there always has to be like the rebel, that challenges the norm, because sometimes the norm is outdated, it served its purpose, and it's kind of meant to move on now, right? And make way for a new energy, a new way of being. And so, with this harmony, I feel like the type of person you are, and I feel like people, this is what people think and feel about you that maybe they don't quite know how to put in words, okay? But I feel like the role that you play in the world is to challenge the norm, to help with evolution, to help with positive change, right? It's like the energy that I feel coming through from you is like the people who rebelled in ancient times against tyrants and leaders who abused their power, like civil rights movement, Stonewall. Like, you're that type of person that brought about change by fighting against certain injustices, maybe even like the Revolutionary War, and like Mahatma Gandhi, right? That kind of energy is like moving against abuse of power. But let's kind of see what else we have here. Page of Cups, the Tower, and Ace of Cups. Wow. So, okay, this really confirms it then. Like with the tower, is like you really bring down old structures. It's like I just, oh my god, this is the best. It's like I see you as that person that's like down with the patriarchy. You know what I'm saying? And I love it. Oh my god, I love it so much. So you're like that person, okay? Um, and what I'm hearing here too from like these people around you is that maybe your social circle and your social network isn't very large, but it's full of people who truly value you. Okay, it's like the difference in being like the popular kid who has like the eyes and adoration of tons of people, but maybe not that ride or die feeling, right? To that person who has like maybe one or two besties that they hang out and spend all of their time with. Um, so I'm getting that vibe here from what people say about you behind your back. And it's mostly coming from the people that are closest to you, that they love your rebellious spirit and your advocacy. And like, again, bringing down the patriarchy. Now, what's so interesting here with the Ace of Cups and the Page of Chalices is that these are new beginnings. Okay? So from this destruction, from the ashes, from the rubble, rises a new beginning, a new era. Okay? And what I'm seeing here is like the word feelings is coming through so strongly, where it's like you really challenge people to face their feelings and face their truths. Because so many people, it's easy for them to follow into this routine and just become robots, right? I do this just because that's what you do, right? They don't think about why they're doing anything. They just do it because that's what they learned when they were a kid. That's what everyone else around them is doing. It kind of reminds me of people like when they see a line forming, like people just naturally get in line. Sometimes I've seen people like they get in line for something. This is really wild. Like they see a big crowd of people in a line, and I've seen people get in line but not know what they're in line for. Like, what? Have you ever heard of that? Have you ever witnessed that yourself? Where it's like, oh my gosh, you don't even know why you're standing in line. You're just like a sheep in the flock, right? Like you're just like, oh my god, this doesn't make any kind of sense. And there are people like that, that are kind of on autopilot, almost like zombie-ish, where like they're not really even thinking for themselves. But by you being this, like in their eyes, outlandish person, it's like you're that pattern interrupt where they're like, wait, why is this person being weird? Why is this person doing something different? And then over time, the more they're exposed to you or this differentness, they start to see something else that's possible for them in their world. It's like you being different gives them permission to be different as well, or rather even just be their unique authentic self. Okay? And this reminds me of this show that my sister recommended. I've talked about this before. It's called We're Here on HBO Max, and it's following three drag queens who were on RuPaul's Drag Race. So if you follow that show, you probably will recognize the three drag queens. And they go to these small towns in America, and there are people, gay, straight, autistic, disabled, or handicapable, trans, right? Old, young, black, white, Asian, Latin American, like all those, and they transform them into drag queens to put on a drag show in their very small community. And these communities are, stereotypically like closed-minded. And the whole purpose is to just let people know, like, hey, there are people in the community who are different, who are feeling left out or receiving prejudice. And they're valid human beings. They deserve love. They deserve a voice. They deserve to be respected and noticed and accepted, right? So kind of like just bringing that awareness. And so I've seen so many people's hearts and attitudes change towards what's different on this show. And it's a very beautiful thing. And so, all that, all that to say that you are like this show that I'm talking about, where you being you helps open people's hearts. Okay? I feel like that's enough said on that. I feel like we need to move on. So let's see what maybe might be a bit uncomfortable for you to hear about what people are saying about you behind your back. Okay? But again, this is for your highest and greatest good with harm to none. So even though it might be difficult to hear, we grounded ourselves in the beginning so that you can receive this message. Moon Night. It's never too late for a second chance. So, actually, I feel like this kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier, where it's like you just don't have the patience to deal with people who don't get it, who will keep singing the same tune over and over again. And what I'm seeing here is that people kind of fear you judging them. Okay, they feel like sometimes, even though they respect you for who you are, I feel like they're a bit afraid to really say what they think, because sometimes they don't know how you're going to take it, all right, or how you're going to respond. I'm hearing too that sometimes it feels like when they're around you, they're walking on eggshells, because to them, sometimes you can come off really sensitive about certain things, and it almost feels like your vengeance, because like Moon Knight, the classic character of Moon Knight is this vengeance giver that comes out at night. Like Moon Knight goes after criminals, kind of like a vigilante who were able to escape justice. And so Moon Knight's character is very much like that, It's kind of like sometimes your brand of justice or what's right in your eyes can feel maybe a bit extreme to them, with no room for exceptions or flexibility. Okay, it feels very absolute, and sometimes they don't know. Sometimes it surprises them, or sometimes maybe there are certain things about mainstream pop culture that they really like, but you can come off so anti-pop culture that they never want to bring it up around you, or they never want to admit certain things to you. So they can be a bit on guard, because again, they don't want to face your wrath in a way. I feel like you do have a very fiery energy about you. That could be why we have like this spirit card here. We have cups, we have wands, we have swords. What we don't have here, which I'm noticing, is like that earth energy, that grounded energy, that like calmness. Okay, so I feel like that's really one of the things that maybe some people find hard, is that there's no groundedness to your energy here, or calmness. So we have December, ear, good news. August, wow, that's interesting. We have like 2 months here. Tree, affairs with your family, and pineapple, reconciliation. So when it comes to the months here, if you're curious about maybe something that has happened, like an example of this type of thing we were talking about, there's probably something that happened in a past December or a past August that might give you some insight. So just look back on a previous August or December month, hanging out with your friends or family, in which maybe you got into a disagreement or an argument, or they like really disappointed you, or they said something that upset you, right? And then you will probably get an understanding of how they might feel uncomfortable saying things or expressing certain things around you, because maybe you kind of blew up at them about it, Now, what about the ear, pineapple, and the tree? That's a very interesting combination, right? I feel like I need to just move these to the side here for a second and just allow these energies and these cards to sit together. So I'm hearing this like prickling, the word prickling. So maybe it could be that you are a bit prickly. With the good news, I'm hearing that sometimes people they're afraid to share some good news with you. Like I'm getting this example of like someone wanting to share that they won something with someone else, but they kind of have a feeling that they're against it. It's like, oh my gosh, I won first prize in this beauty pageant. And they're really, really excited about it. And then they share it with someone, and the person's like, oh, why do you even care so much about this beauty contest? Like, it's totally like misogynistic, and like it just furthers this notion and ideas that beauty is the most valued thing in our society and culture, and it's so twisted and so last century and so archaic, right? And so there's certain things that really excite your close friends and your family members even, that they want to share with you and they want you to be a part of, but it's like they feel like you don't really care about that and that you have opinions. Maybe even like with Christmas, like maybe people are like, oh, I just want to like sing Christmas carols and give presents, and you're like, oh, like Christmas is so commercialized, and it's all just about who can give the best presents and spending more money. It's a consumerist kind of holiday and blah blah blah, right? And so maybe that can be part of the reason why sometimes they feel on guard about you, and that you kind of come off as kind of prickly around them. And with this reconciliation and second chance, it's kind of almost like sometimes they feel like there's this there's certain gaps in your relationship that just cannot be brought together or mended. And so maybe you miss out on parts of their life because of it. Ooh, very, very interesting. Let me know what you thought of this reading, okay? If you got something out of it at all that's useful, make sure you like and comment down below. Express like gratitude for this insight that was brought through for the reading for your highest and greatest good. And if you enjoy these insightful readings, you enjoy hearing about possibilities for your bright and wonderful future when it comes to love and career, finances, then tap that subscribe button, and that will make sure that you don't miss out on any future uploads. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you for supporting this channel. Thank you for sharing the video or letting the ads run to support video creation here. And before you go, one last thing. Remember that it's never too late for your happily ever after. No matter what's happening in your life right now, know that good times are always just around the corner. I'll see you again next time. Bye, loves. Hey there, group 3. Let's take a look at what is said about you behind your back. We're going to start with some good things first with the Venom card here. Let me in, said the spider to the fly. Ooh, I wonder what that could mean. Now, this card here will talk about more on something that people are saying behind your back that might be a little bit more challenging for you to hear or understand. But we want to bring balance to this reading as well, and opportunities for growth. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But let's see what else we got cooking here for some good things or more high vibrational things people are saying about you. So you have Coyote, wise fool, accept your follies and find the teaching in them. So there's some trickster energy coming through here, some mysterious energy coming through here. We have dance, celebration. Oh, yes. It's been so long since I've danced. I should definitely get back into that. DNA. Wow. Karma. The Magician. Oh, so the Magician, actually, I don't know how many people know this, but the Magician is not only a creator of bringing like things into the 3D reality, but the Magician is also some trickster energy. So we have like some trickster energy here. So maybe you like playing pranks or like playing jokes on people, and people find that pretty amusing, pretty funny. They enjoy your sense of humor. And we have the Lovers card. Wow, 2 major arcana from this deck here. And we also have, wow, 3 major arcana cards. The Hermit, as well as the Page of Swords. Wow, okay. So what I'm seeing here is that there is definitely some type of independence about you that people really respect. Um, I'm sensing here that not only is it like you take care of yourself, you fend for yourself, you have your own thoughts, your own interests. Like what I'm seeing here is more in the sense of like with the Lovers card, is that you kind of don't lose yourself in your relationships. Okay, so it's like, not just romantic relationships, but even just like with your friendships, it's almost like you don't lose your sense of identity, your sense of uniqueness when you're in these groups. And it's like you definitely bring your own flavor to different experiences and different people. And I think a lot of other people like it, okay? Because, sometimes when you get into certain groups of people, like, you tend to rub off on each other. Do you know what I'm saying? And then it becomes like, at times, it can even go into the territory of being like a hive like mind, where it's like everybody agrees on this, everybody agrees to do it this specific way, everybody likes to just eat this kind of food, do this kind of activities, right? And there's no variety, there's nothing new, there's nothing challenging coming through. But I see very clearly now that people like how you keep them on their toes, okay? Um, with this trickster energy, right? Like when you're playing a prank on somebody, like some people just never know where it's gonna come from. Like maybe they have to be careful when they turn the corner or when they open a box or something, because who knows what surprise is gonna come out, or what kind of jokes you might play. So you keep them on their toes. That's one thing, of course, like a very humorous way of interacting. But also, I hear too that like you're that kind of person that suggests new things. Okay, like, hey, I heard about this brand new restaurant that was like super cool. It's getting a lot of great reviews, and you invite people to go meet up there rather than the usual haunts. Um, like I'm seeing here that you're not really a creature of habit. Um, and people really respect that. They like it, okay? Because you get them outside of their comfort zone and they appreciate that. They appreciate being challenged in new ways. They appreciate exploring and experiencing new things. Like you're probably the one that will suggest like, hey, let's go river rafting, or hey, let's try bungee jumping, or hey, let's go to an escape room, or hey, I heard about this like food fair, food festival, let's go check it out, or music festival, right? Like you're so quick to invite people to things. Um, and sometimes it's a hit or miss, right? Sometimes maybe you invite people to things that are just a little too far outside of their comfort zone. Not, and they don't do it. Not that they don't appreciate it. Like they do appreciate receiving these invitations. I'm getting that very loud and clear. So don't stop inviting people to things, no matter how off the beaten path they sound to them, or however many times they might decline, because they will go to certain things with you. They might not go to all of them, but they will go to certain things with you. Okay? And what I see here too is your inner circle of friends really see you as someone who enjoys celebrating life. And I'm hearing now that your energy is like very, very contagious. Okay? That, oh, this is beautiful. It's kind of like you bring out the best in them. You bring out parts of them that they never thought they were capable of, like in a good way, like you challenge them in a good way, and they surprise themselves whenever they actually decide to go with one of your activities or go along with one of your schemes or your jokes. Like you really challenge them in a very good way, and you keep them feeling alive. And sorry, something was coming through with this karma as I was speaking. And I'm trying to like understand it well enough so that I could put it into words for you all. So karma is in a way um, can be seen as sort of like consequences. Okay? And consequences, not in the sense of like good, bad. It's kind of like with every action, there is a response. Okay? There is a like reaction. And so what I'm getting here is that there's like your role is in almost challenging the way people respond to events and circumstances outside of their control. Okay, it's like you're challenging their response mechanism. Okay, it's like when you're up to a challenge, are you going to rise above it or are you going to yield to it? Right? That's the kind of energy that you bring into people's lives. You make them really understand who they are at their core, right? And over time begin to accept it. Okay? Because, maybe some of these people are not super adventurous. Maybe they're not thrill seeking. Maybe they're at their core the type of person that just wants stability and like routine in their life. And there's nothing wrong with that, but they need to own it. They need to not feel bad about it. Not feel bad about the choices that they're making and whatever the results are of that. So it's like they need to stand in their power. And they need to know when to say no. And I feel like you ask them a lot of questions, you ask them to do a lot of things, and there's a power in being able to say no, that's not for me, and feel good about it, and be able to speak your mind, speak your truth. So that's very interesting. That's right. I was not expecting something like that to come through in your reading, but that's very beautiful. I never thought of it that way. So thank you, Group 3, for allowing me to do this part of the reading and pass this message on to you. Because that's very, very, very interesting, okay? Now, one thing I wanted to point out here too with this coyote card, accept your follies and find the teaching in them. So with this, it's like you're not afraid to make a fool of yourself. The beautiful thing about you is you're not afraid to fail. And people love that. Like people really love how brave you are. And this actually reminds me of one of my friends. Another friend and I were talking about this friend and how brave they are, and they the way they like flirt and make moves on people is just like so ballsy. I'm just like, oh my god, you're so brave. You just go up to someone and be like, hey, I think you're really cute, like what's your name, what are you about, like just lets it out there. And does my friend get turned down? Yes, they do. Absolutely. Like they're not 100% perfect score that everybody they talk to, they get a date with or whatever. Like they get turned down. But what's so beautiful about my friend and my other friend and I were talking about this is like they don't give up. It's like they're not phased by it. It's like, oh, you're not into me? Okay, well, that's cool. Thanks for letting me know. I'm going to go talk to this person now. It's like it doesn't phase them. It's like they're very resilient in that way. And that's like what's so great about you. Again, it's like, you ask people to do things, you surprise people, and no matter the response, you're not afraid to do it again. Okay? Obviously, I think if someone really, really hates practical jokes and stuff like that, you'd stop. But I feel like you don't get discouraged or you don't let it get you down, okay? Now here also with this Venom card, let me in, said the spider to the fly. Not everybody opens the door to the spider. Not all flies will open the door to the spider, but it doesn't stop the spider from knocking on other doors. So it's kind of like a confirmation, affirmation of this other idea, of this idea we're just talking about. It's just another way of expressing it is what I meant to say. All right. Okay, let's see what's going on here with something that might be a little difficult for you to hear, but will be great for your growth. And what? The arch enemy of Venom is Spider-Man, or vice versa, right? Depending on your viewpoint. Places to be, webs to shoot. That is very, very interesting. So what I see here is that people really see you always being on the move. Like you don't sit still for long. And what is kind of hard about this is that some people can maybe find it a bit exhausting. Okay, it's like they can't keep up with you. And so sometimes they're just afraid to even like go on the journey because they feel like, oh gosh, what crazy things are we going to get into now? And do I have the time or the energy for it at this point? Right? Because again, you have a very adventurous spirit, and sometimes people don't feel like going on adventures on a Saturday afternoon. Like sometimes people just feel like they want to chill and watch a movie. You know what I'm saying? And so I definitely get this sense that a lot of people feel like they can't keep up with you and that you're exhausting. But not in a sense of like they're frustrated with you or annoyed with you. It's just like they really feel like they need to have their batteries charged and their mind and spirit open in order to go on one of your adventures. I'm also hearing that you're not necessarily the type of person that enjoys like a schedule. Like you don't really stick to a schedule here. And as I'm thinking about the life of Spider-Man / Peter Parker, like he's always getting interrupted, right? He's trying to have dinner and then like a supervillain attacks him in the restaurant while he's on a date. He's trying to get to class and then he gets delayed by some type of emergency, like a car is like hanging precariously on a bridge, right? Like he always seems to be getting interrupted while he's trying to do his day-to-day things. And so because of that, I feel like you don't really enjoy schedules because it feels very restrictive, right? Because to you, life can be very unpredictable. And so it's like you don't want to like lock yourself into one thing because you're just never going to know if there's any curveballs that are going to be thrown your way. And so very, very free spirited in that way, okay? But not everybody can really vibe or flow on that level. And so that's something that they talk about. Maybe when you invite everybody to something, they probably talk about it amongst themselves before they get back to you. And this might be something that's said, like, I don't know, I've had the time or energy this weekend to get into that, And it's nothing against your idea. You're, not saying your ideas aren't brilliant or fun or time with you isn't fun. It's just like, sometimes people just don't have the energy for it, right? Or they're just not in that place. Maybe they're feeling a bit stressed. Maybe they're feeling overworked and they really just want to relax, So gavel, involvement with the law. Okay. So, wow. So I'm hearing that sometimes some of your ideas border on like law breaking. And maybe if it's not like the legal law, maybe it's like sort of bending people's certain morals and ethics to some degree. I don't, that's very interesting how that comes through. Money or property through an inheritance, winning or windfall. So, I definitely feel like people say that hanging out with you is sort of like a crapshoot. Sometimes it's a lottery, sometimes it's a complete bust, and they just never know what's going to happen here, okay? It kind of reminds me of when we had this family reunion with my cousins and my uncles and aunts on my dad's side. My uncle had all these really fun outdoor adventures in mind, and sometimes it just didn't go over very well. Like we went river rafting, and then the river was supposed to be calm and relaxing, but then there's like some rapids here and like some inner tubes flipped over and it was getting like really late, and so it got dark and we couldn't see where we're going on this river, and my uncle wasn't sure if we ended up in the right spot. So there was like all this drama there. Was it exciting? Yes. Was it a story to tell? Yes. Did everybody enjoy it? No. So again, it's kind of like, I personally didn't have a problem with it, to be honest, but I know some of my other cousins were not about that life. So, again, some people may feel like going on an adventure with you is like hit or miss. Hand, in need of help, assistance, and guidance. Oh, I'm also hearing too, like a night out with you to go to a bar, go to a club is never just a night out for a drink. Like there's always something else that happens. Very interesting. Firecracker, excitement. There you go. There you go. So you do bring a lot of excitement into their life. But again, sometimes people don't want excitement. Beau, you are highly thought of. Oh, that's beautiful. So despite whether or not people want to go on adventures with you at any given time, they do really think highly of you. They think you're amazing. They love your adventurous spirit. They can't imagine it not being in their life. But again, like, at times they're going to need a break from it, okay? And here with in need of help, assistance, and guidance, sometimes, I feel like maybe some people see you as that character that has these brilliant, like, cockamamie schemes. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, they have these brilliant, wonderful ideas, but the execution isn't always flawless, right? And so it's almost like with this energy too of the coyote and stuff, it's like maybe in some light you might be seen as like a schemer. Like, you have these schemes, you have these plans and ideas, but the execution doesn't always go so well. And sometimes people feel like, okay, I'm here, I want to be along for the ride, but I know we're going to end up facing something sometimes that I'm going to have to solve. I'm going to have to take care of and help you out. And that really wasn't my intention, to really solve problems or issues this time around, It's almost like just something little where it's like, oh, let's go eat at this restaurant. I heard it was like really, really good. And you get to the restaurant and you find out like, oh, you were supposed to call and make a reservation. Like, it's by reservation only. And they're kind of like, man, like, why didn't you figure that out before you invited us? So sometimes your plans to others may seem a bit half formed, right? Like, it's kind of like, you have only part of it figured out, and then you're just throwing caution to the wind, or you're rolling the dice to let fate handle the rest. And, in general, your friends don't tend to be that way. They're not like the fly by the seat of their pants kind of person. So that can cause them a little bit of stress. We'll just say that. So overall, like, your energy is very good for the people that you're around. Does it stress them out sometimes? Yes. Do they have lots of fun other times? Totally. But I guess from this reading, what I'm sensing and what I'm understanding here is like, it would help you to maybe understand your friend's point of view at times, and maybe not take things so personally if they don't want to go along with you on your plans and adventures. But not to necessarily write them off and thinking like they're abandoning you or they don't want to spend time with you anymore. It's not that. It's just like at that particular instance, they're not really feeling it. But that doesn't mean they're not going to be up for it the next time you ask. All right? So really cool reading. I kind of enjoyed this for you all. So let me know what you thought. Like, comment down below that you received this insight to your relationships. And of course, thank you again for watching. Thank you so much for supporting this channel, for letting the ads run, to support content creation here. I truly appreciate it. And before you go, one last thing, as always, remember it's never too late for your happily ever after. All right, talk to you again soon. Bye.